Good morning everybody, it's Claire Jones here from Your One Life Healthy Weight Solutions, and this is episode 2 of Monday Morning Matters, and I'm here to talk to you this morning about plateaus and how to deal with them. And there's something else on my list as well which I've just realised I haven't made a note of, so bear with me. It is, no, hang on, sorry, bear with me. It's about, how often we think we're hungry when we're only, about menopause, not menopause, PMT symptoms and how to cope with them. Morning, Natasha. Hi. So firstly, just to talk about plateaus and how to cope with them emotionally, because, hi Jenny, because the problem when we try to lose weight is obviously we are going against absolutely everything that our bodies and minds want to do at a primitive level. So we are designed to eat more in times of plenty and have body fat to see us through for those times when food is scarce. Now, the trouble with the world that we're living in is food is not scarce at all. And so we've got this desire to eat a lot. And so, of course, when we're trying to lose weight, we have to go against all of those things. So it takes a lot of mental effort to lose weight. Now, obviously, there are some people who are able to do it very easily. And indeed, myself in the past, there were times where I got really focused. There wasn't too much else going on and I could just get into the zone and, you know, the pounds just dropped off and it just happened. And yet there were other times where it was incredibly difficult and really quite mentally exhausting. So it does depend very much, obviously, on what's going on in your life at any given time as to how easy or difficult it may be to lose weight. And obviously, if you're going through a very, very difficult time, then trying to be really strict with yourself is going to require a lot more mental effort than if you're, you know, in a period where things are less stressful. So plateaus tend to happen for different reasons. The most likely explanation that we always need to look at first before we look at anything else is, are we being accurate about what's going in? So if we have been tracking religiously, never missing anything out, and we can see that it's working, then great. But quite often what happens is that after a little while we get mentally tired, and so we don't track quite as religiously as we were, and perhaps we're eyeballing portions instead of measuring them out because we think, oh, well, I know what it is, I don't need to measure it. And so gradually what starts to happen is that we wipe out that calorie deficit. So we are no longer in a calorie deficit. So that's always the first place to look, is go back and make sure, are you being absolutely accurate about what you're doing? Another reason is that there may, obviously, you know, a true plateau has to go on for a number of weeks where you're doing, you're not losing weight where you think you should be. And it may or may not be because you're doing everything that needs to be done. So there can be short-term fluctuations that will cause a plateau. So, for example, if we're coming up for time of the month and there's water retention, it's going to mask any fat loss. But usually what then happens is when you come out the other side of that water or whatever it is gone, and then everything kind of settles down, and then you can see that there is a loss after all. But another reason that there could be a plateau is that obviously as we lose weight, our bodies get smaller. So smaller bodies need less energy to move and power up. So therefore, you know, if you had a small calorie deficit to begin with, and then your body needs less energy, then that may well have wiped out your calorie deficit. And of course, our bodies are efficient. They want to be efficient. We don't want them to be efficient when we're trying to lose weight, but the body is going to try to be efficient. So after a few weeks, we may need to switch up what we're doing because the body may have lost the calorie deficit that was there. And one thing that is really, really important is that it does not help to keep cutting calories, because all that happens is that the body over time will preserve energy and then that will just go against what you want to do. And of course, those psychological and biological factors that are also going on inside us are making us more hungry, because our bodies are saying we need more food. So of course, then it becomes so easy to give in to temptations, and it only takes a weekend, even one takeaway. I mean, I talk about this a lot. It just takes one takeaway over the weekend to wipe out a calorie deficit. And of course, the other thing is that, we may not want to count calories when we know we're not doing what we think we should be doing. So of course, we, in our minds, are underestimating how much we've really had. So we might think, well, I only had a takeaway. But if you add up all of the calories in that takeaway, that could actually be more than the calorie deficit that you'd created during the week. So that's another reason why you may have this in your mind that you've been really good. And, I've spoken about not using terms good or bad, but in your mind you may think, oh, I've been really good. I don't understand why I'm not losing weight. It's because you're actually eating more than you think. That is the foremost reason to look at it. So that's kind of what's going on. So it's really important to look at that first. But then the other thing to think about is, well, how do you cope with these periods where you're not losing weight where you think you should be? So first thing I would say is take the pressure off yourself, because if you are not being as consistent as you think you are, or you think you know that you are, and something's not changing, then adding more pressure onto yourself is not going to help. And actually, the way that I have sort of learned to think about it is, it took me 2 years to lose my weight for the last time, because I actually had mostly periods of plateau mixed in with short periods where I was losing weight. And the reason for that was because I didn't feel I had the capacity mentally to, and also because I wanted to keep up my exercise. And I know that if I'm doing a lot of exercise, I've got to eat more. I can't lose weight by doing lots of exercise if I'm also cutting calories, and it's not wise to do that, because our bodies need more energy if we're doing more exercise. So by doing more exercise, what we're able to do is obviously remind the body not to get rid of the lean muscle tissue that it will get rid of if it doesn't think we need it. So if we're not doing resistance training whilst trying to lose weight, our bodies will, as well as losing body fat, will lose lean tissue. And of course, when we lose lean tissue, we lose our biggest calorie burning furnace. And so then when we try to maintain our weight, it becomes more difficult because our bodies need less. So of course that could be happening, and that might be a reason for the plateau. But also thinking about, losing weight is hard. If we need to be able to concentrate on it, being able to just perhaps bookmark in your diary or schedule in your diary like a short period of time where you can really focus on limiting the calories, but also limiting your activity, because if you do more activity, you're going to get more hungry, and if you get more hungry, you're going to want to eat more, and so we end up self-sabotaging. So by getting out of this cycle, we can by having a short period of losing weight followed by a longer period of plateau, where you can do more exercise, especially resistance exercise, which means that you're going to tell your body not to get rid of those muscles. So therefore it becomes easier to maintain. And actually during periods of plateau, we don't need to obviously work so hard on trying to eat less. Obviously we don't want to eat too much that we end up putting weight on, but we want to preserve the goal that we've achieved so far, the weight loss we've achieved so far. So by using exercise in that way, we can actually learn how to maintain our weight whilst being able to obviously eat healthily most of the time. So we want to think about, is the food that we're eating supporting our health first and foremost? So rather than thinking, I've got to lose weight, I've got to lose weight, I've got to lose weight, it's thinking, is what I'm doing supporting my health? And if we're eating in a way that we can preserve our weight loss whilst maintaining for a little while, it actually gives the body the chance to really get what it needs. Because when we are trying to lose weight, when we cut down on calories, we cut down on our nutrition. So unless we're following a specific program where it's all provided for you. But even that is really hard to stick to for any length of time. So by doing it in short bursts, that can actually be more beneficial. And that's certainly what I believe is what enabled me to actually lose the weight and keep it off, was because I'd learned through these long periods of plateau and eating for health that actually my body recovered from all of the damage that I'd done to it. It learned, and I learned, how to eat well, as opposed to always thinking I've got to either be losing weight and on a diet or overeating and eating too much. I was able to actually find that wonderful middle ground where I was healthy for the first time ever, I think, in my adult life at least. So in terms of how do you cope with a plateau, it's about seeing it as a positive, seeing those plateaus as an opportunity to reset your thinking, reset your body's relationship with food and your mind's relationship with food, so that you can take that mental pressure off and think you've got to constantly be restricting, and you can allow that balance to come in, so that you can eat sufficient amounts to not end up feeling hungry and miserable, be able to have the energy to do the exercise that you need to do in order to preserve your weight loss and your current weight at maintenance, and so that when you do lose weight, if you've got a bit more muscle on your body, you don't have to get quite a bigger calorie deficit to lose weight, and therefore the results are going to be much more sustainable. And not only that, you'll learn a new way of living that's actually really enjoyable and healthy. And being healthy, if we make being healthy the number one priority, and I know that not everybody can do resistance training in the same way as everybody, everybody else. It's finding how can you do it for yourself. Perhaps get some advice about what's going to work for you, how you can incorporate exercise into your life in a healthy and safe way. If you truly can't exercise, then obviously it has to really be all about the diet. But again, not worrying about constantly losing weight. Maybe have regular periods where you actually focus on maintenance, so that you're in control of that, rather than feeling like you're the victim of being in a plateau. Make the plateau part of the plan, and not see it as a negative. And so I hope that kind of helps on that. I've kind of run out of time to talk about the other issue, which was about premenstrual weight gain, and getting how do we manage that time. So I'm going to save that for next time, but I'm sure that something's bugging me, because I'm thinking there was something else that I wanted to mention, and I probably put it in the event, but I've forgotten. This morning has kind of been a bit of a mad rush for me. So but anyway, there's lots and lots of things that I can talk about, so I'm going to save that for, and a few other things. I'll have a look through the list of things that have come up so far, and I'll do a little timetable of what I'm going to talk about when, which will help me to remember as well, because I am kind of doing this a bit on the fly. So I hope that was helpful. Please let me know of any questions on what I've talked about, and whether or not that makes sense, because obviously, this whole thing about being consistent, we are notoriously good at not being honest with ourselves. It takes our brains a little while to catch up with our actions. So we might be saying we're being consistent, we're doing everything, but actually the most likely explanation is that we're not. So that's always the first place to look. If you are absolutely doing everything right, then obviously then it would be time to perhaps look at the other explanations. And it may be that, your intake needs tweaking to get the calorie deficit again. But perhaps having a plateau where you can then do some more exercise and eat more, and exercise more to, or eat more to be able to, fuel that exercise properly. Because we cannot be well in the long term if we are, it comes back to the whole burning candle at both ends thing. If we're eating too much less and we're exercising too much more, that's only going to lead to trouble. So it's finding a better match, a better compromise that is going to be sustainable. And it's not hard for you mentally, because mental, you know, the mental strain of trying to lose weight is huge. If you're one of those people who finds it difficult because there's so much else going on in your life, you know. So yeah, just have a think about that. Right, I'm going to leave it there. I could go on for hours on this sort of stuff, honestly. So let me know if that was helpful. If you're watching on replay, please say hello in the comments, and obviously any questions, drop them in the comments, and I'll come in and we'll take this conversation a bit further. And I will see you all soon. Take care. Bye.